How's it going, YouTube? Since I got the new Pacifism high score about a week ago, a few people, well, a couple of people, have messaged me to ask some tips on how to play the game or how to improve their scores. So I thought I would do a little video, a commentary over my 9 billion run, just going through a few the key things I had in mind when I got that run. I've done a previous Pacifism tutorial, which was more for beginners at the game, and I'll put a link to that in the description. This is more for people who are familiar with the game and have probably seen other people's runs before, and maybe I want to beat a billion or 2 billion, and maybe this video will help. Before I get onto that, there are a couple of things I wanted to just run over. One, big thanks to Artist. His videos, I've said several times, without his videos there's no way I would have gotten even to 2 billion. I shamelessly stole his method of using gates and twizzling into the packs of diamonds. It was a revolution when I saw it. But more importantly, he's been a real big supporter of my channel for ages now. I think the first run of mine he saw was a 1.4 billion, which really wasn't remarkable in any way. But that encouragement meant a lot to me, and it was really nice to do that congratulations video. When I saw that, I was surprised, and yeah, I was quite moved. It was really nice to have done that. I didn't expect it, and I've gotten most of my views for that video come from the video that Con did. So thanks a lot, man. And the other thing is, hopefully the tips I give out in this video will be helpful in and of themselves, but probably the best piece of advice I can give right off the bat is just to watch everyone else's videos. There are lots of amazing players who've got their own channels. Obviously Pacifism is particularly relevant, so you got Artist, you got 4. I think Black Machine has done a few, and Silver Lord also. But also the other game modes are really important as well, because obviously if you've got this game, you've paid for 6 game modes, and you should play more because they're all really fun. But in terms of improving your Pacifism score, I think they're all really helpful. You get used to being under all kinds of different pressure, compared to which Pacifism, in my opinion, can seem quite easy. And you just become more aware of what your ship can do in certain situations. So for all kinds of reasons, you shouldn't neglect the other modes. And if you look at the top scores, leaderboards, you'll see who the really amazing players are, and most have got YouTube channels. But I'll try to think as many as I can and put all their links in the description, because you can learn way more from watching them than you will from what I'm about to say. But having said that, do stick around, and let's get on with the run. So I won't try and commentate on the things that are happening in front of me as I watch this run over again. What I'll do instead is just talk about I think there are 3 main excuse me, main things that I really concentrated on in the couple of weeks running up to that 9 billion run, and I'll just talk about those, and hopefully if you bear those in mind too, it'll improve your score. Now the first thing, and this I covered in my original Pacifism tutorial, and it's as true today as it ever was, is that it's essential that you detonate gates as absolutely close as you can to the packs of diamonds. Excuse me, I've got a cold, I haven't had for ages. It's really annoying. Detonate the gates as close as you can to the packs of diamonds, because that will land as much as damage as you possibly can, which means you've got more space then to navigate around, and you're getting a high score, and of course you'll release more geome in close proximity to your ship, which means it's easier to collect. So as I've gotten better at this game, I've let the large numbers of diamonds get nearer and nearer to me until they're on top of me, like here for example. But that's not a great example maybe, but I've gotten more and more comfortable with letting the blues really close me down, and so it looks like I'm doomed. But the gates do enough damage to get you out of a lot of situations which might otherwise seem really tricky. and it just means that you're doing less work, you're not moving around as much, but you're doing more damage, you're getting more geom, which is crucial for getting a higher score, and you're not getting put into difficult space into corners where you can't get out of. So that's one thing. Do try and detonate gates as close as you can, and by that I also mean not just the gates in general, but try and detonate the gate so the orange bit is pointing at the enemy you want to destroy. Because as I mentioned in my previous tutorial, the gates don't explode uniformly. They instead explode from the two ends of the gate. The orange bits are the actual bombs, and the grey bit is just neutral material that connects those bombs. And so you want the gate to be pointing at the thing you want to destroy. Like there. That's a perfect example, really, of really moving in such a way that might seem excessive until you actually hit the gate, and then it's clear why I've done that. Because I'm trying to make sure that the orange part, the bomb, the deadly part, is right in the heart of the enemy. Then that leads to the second thing, and this is the thing that I most stole from Con, and that is when I detonate a gate, and hopefully it's pointing right into the heart of the enemy pack of diamonds. I'll then follow through into the path that the explosion is created in a circle, and this does two things. One, it gets as much of the geom as possible in a very efficient way, so I'm not having to go away from the explosion I created then go back on myself. Instead I get it as part of the action of destroying the enemies in the first place, which means I can then move on quickly to destroy more enemies. And once you get to this point, 1.9 billion, you'd have to keep on getting gates now. You can't waste time doing other things. You've got to keep everything under control by detonating gates and killing enemies. Excuse me. But perhaps even more importantly, what this constant movement back into the cloud does, is it winds the diamonds in on themselves. Because whatever you do, once you get to this stage, where are we now, 2.9, there are going to be loads and loads of enemies. And that was a key section there. I was lucky there, the way the gates moved. I was able to go back myself and get all the geom. But there are going to be a lot of enemies at this point. And the question is how you deal with that. And what going into the cloud does is it winds the diamonds on top of themselves, so they're occupying not as much room as they might otherwise do. So now at this point, it doesn't look like a huge number of enemies on the screen, but there are, but they're all occupying the same space. And that also means that one gate can do a tremendous amount of damage, because even though it hasn't got a bigger reach than before, it's just hitting loads and loads of enemies. And then the final thing, and again this is related, is that I try to move around as little as possible. This isn't really the case now because I'm under such pressure, I'm having to move around. But even so, I'm still trying to shepherd the blue. See how I'm moving back on myself? I hit the gate and I move back. Not because I'm getting much geom out of it, but because I want to make sure that the blues, the diamonds, are always being forced back on themselves. And the reason they're forced back on themselves is they follow my movements. So if I'm darting back the whole time, they're going to be occupying less space than they would be. Whereas if I spent the whole run escaping and flying around the screen, then the blues would be spread out and I would eventually be trapped. But instead, they're occupying not much space at all. And well, here we are, pretty much at the end of the run now. I could have gone for that gate I almost went for, but instead went for these ones, and that's what caused me to die. But I think it was the right decision. So those are the three things that I focused on towards the end, towards the couple of weeks that built up to this run. And I think those three things alone should help you. Say if you're on 100 million or more and you want to get to 1 billion, I think just bearing in mind on those things and really refining them, I can't guarantee it, but it might be helpful. I guess those three things are what you might call real-time tactics, and I've got some ideas about a more macro game strategy but could well be useful. But I guess I'll do that for another video sometime. So thanks for watching.